माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, मैं अब कैबिनेट बैठक पर आता हूं। 2022 के लिए 2022 में सिर्फ 6 कैबिनेट बैठक बुलाई गई, सिर्फ 6 ही बैठक पूरे साल में। इसमें से 3 बैठक बजट संबंधी थी और 1 बैठक एक कंपनी को फायदा करने के लिए बुलाई गई। तो एक्चुअल में देखे तो 2 बैठक बुलाई गई। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, 2023 में 2 ही बैठक अब तक बुलाई गई है, दोनों बैठक बजट के लिए। अब ये कैबिनेट की बात कर रहे हैं भैया, कैबिनेट बुलाते नहीं है, वही तकलीफ है दिल्ली की जनता को। ये तो बुलाते ही नहीं कैबिनेट। हम तो चाहते हैं कैबिनेट बुलाया जाए। अब किसका समर्थन कर रहे हो? गठबंधन करना चाहिए, सबको जोड़ना चाहिए, हम भी चलाते हैं, मगर ऐसे एक भी बिल में चर्चा नहीं करना और इसमें खड़े हो जाना। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, शॉपिंग फेस्टिवल आयोजित करने के लिए विज्ञापन के नाम पर करोड़ों रुपया खर्च कर दिए, इसमें भी कोर्ट ने स्ट्रिक्चर किया। केग का रिपोर्ट 2 साल से सदन में नहीं रखते हैं, संवैधानिक प्रोविजन है। आप हमें संविधान सिखाते हो, जरा आपके साथी को सिखा दो कि केग के रिपोर्ट को आप छुपा नहीं सकते हो। 2 साल से साहब केग का रिपोर्ट नहीं छुपाते, सदन के पटल पर नहीं रखते। बोलो क्या ये संवैधानिक प्रावधान है? माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, RRTS, एम्स, UER, IIT दिल्ली, इस जैसी संस्थाओं के 13 परमिशन वहां लंबित है, नहीं देते हैं। उनको डर है कि ये सब होगा तो मोदी जी बड़े लोकप्रिय हो जाएंगे। मैं इनकी सरकार चलाने का तरीका बताता हूं। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, 5G टेक्नोलॉजी लाने के लिए 2016 के एक अधिनियम बनाए। देश के सारे राज्यों ने, इवन DMK ने भी इसको एक्सेप्ट कर लिया, परंतु दिल्ली नहीं करता है क्योंकि उनको विकास से कोई सरोकार नहीं है। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, 2013 से जो सिविल सर्विस बोर्ड की हमने रचना की, इसको लेकर ये आगे गए। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, मैं सदन के सामने और आपके माध्यम से देश की जनता को बड़ी विनम्रता के साथ कहना चाहता हूं कि ये अध्यादेश और बाद में अब जो बिल में कन्वर्ट हो रहा है, वो विधेयक लेकर मैं आया हूं, ये संपूर्णतया संविधान सम्मत है और केवल दिल्ली की जनता के कल्याण के उद्देश्य से बनाया गया है। हमारा कोई राजनीतिक उद्देश्य इसके लिए नहीं है। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, मैं
थोड़ा बाहर क्लियर कर दिया, उनको लगा 2G बोला, 5G बोला, 5G बोला।
मारन जी पूछ रहे हैं,
वहां पूछ।
माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, भाई ये भी खड़े हो गए, मैं क्या करूं? एक बार ये भी खड़े हो गए।
सदन की कार्रवाई इस विषय की समाप्ति तक बढ़ाई जाती है। माननीय गृह मंत्री जी, मैं क्या
होम मिनिस्टर
माननीय, हाँ आप क्या बोल रहे थे? 2G 5G पे समझौता बहस नहीं हो रही यहाँ पे।
सर, I want to submit, sir, through you, sir, I want to submit one thing before the House and the Honorable Home Minister and other members of the Parliament in the other side, adversary benches. As far as 2G is concerned.
No. माननीय गृह मंत्री जी, 2G 3G माननीय 2G 3G में बहस नहीं हो रही। नो कुछ नहीं बोला। नो लगाया है। आप क्यों 2G पे नाम पूछ नाराज हो रहे हो? अरे 2G पे नाराज पे इतना नाराज क्यों जाते हो? देखो, पुरानी बातों को लेके मत चलो। वो 2G
अध्यक्ष जी, रिकॉर्ड पर नहीं है, बता दीजिए इनको।
देखिए, वो रिकॉर्ड में नहीं है, आप क्यों रिकॉर्ड में लाना चाहते हो बात? अरे ऑनरेबल मेंबर, वो रिकॉर्ड में नहीं है, आप क्यों रिकॉर्ड में लाना चाहते हो बात? ऑनरेबल मेंबर, वो रिकॉर्ड में नहीं है। ओके ओके, नो रिकॉर्ड, नो रिकॉर्ड। ओके ओके, माननीय गृह मंत्री जी, नो रिकॉर्ड, नो रिकॉर्ड मिस्टर बालू। वो रिकॉर्ड में नहीं गया, क्यों रिकॉर्ड में लाना चाहते हो उसको बिना काम में? बिना जी, गृह मंत्री जी।
माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, बालू जी,
चलो आप कहेंगे जब 2G 3G पे चर्चा करा लेंगे, अभी गृह मंत्री जी की चर्चा करने दो।
हाँ जी, मैं करता हूं बाद में।
ओके ओके,
बालू जी, रिकॉर्ड पर नहीं है,
प्लीज,
रिकॉर्ड पर नहीं है, रिकॉर्ड
में नहीं है।
माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, कुछ सदस्यों ने टिप्पणियां करी है, मैं जरूर जवाब देना चाहता हूं। मैं तो सीधा साधा भाषण करने आया था नियमों के अनुसार, मगर राजनीतिक टिप्पणियां कर गई तो मुझे जवाब देना पड़ेगा। माननीय अध्यक्ष, राजीव रंजन जी ने कहा कि लोकलाज होनी चाहिए, लोकलाज होनी चाहिए। राजीव रंजन जी, लोकलाज बोल आप तो मत ही बोलिए, क्योंकि जिस चारा घोटाले को लेकर बिहार की जनता के सामने गए थे, आज चारा घोटाला करने वालों के साथ आप बैठे और फिर से गठबंधन के लिए। लोकलाज आपके मुंह में अच्छा नहीं लगता। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, ये जो गठबंधन बना है यूपीए का, ये यूपीए का गठबंधन नहीं है, ये सत्ता के स्वार्थ के लिए बना है। बंगाल में माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी, तृणमूल कांग्रेस और कांग्रेस तीनों लड़ती हैं। हर रोज ममता जी को हमारे अधीर रंजन जी क्वेश्चन करते रहते हैं, मगर बेंगलोर में साथ में बैठेंगे। जेडीयू और आरजेडी, जेडीयू का जन्म ही, माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, जेडीयू का जन्म ही आरजेडी का विरोध करने के लिए हुआ। यूनाइटेड जनता दल तोड़ दिया, वो जेडीयू आज सत्ता प्राप्त करने के लिए गठबंधन में है। जो बाला साहब ठाकरे के सिद्धांतों पर चलते थे, वो आज कांग्रेस के साथ बैठे हैं। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, केरल में, माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, केरल में कम्युनिस्ट, कांग्रेस और एलडीएफ और यूडीएफ दोनों आमने सामने थे। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, सत्ता के कारण दोनों इकट्ठा आए हैं। सुरेश जी, केरल की जनता इस बार पूछेगी। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, मैंने दयानिधि मारन जी को सुना, बहुत पेशेंस के साथ संविधान की दुहाई दे रहे थे। मारन साहब, आपको संविधान की चिंता नहीं है, एन मन एन मक्कल से आप डरे हुए हो। हमारी जो यात्रा शुरू हुई है, इसने डर खड़ा किया है। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, शशि थरूर जी ने कहा, माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, शशि थरूर जी ने कहा कि कांग्रेस की सरकार होती या आपकी सरकार होती तो ऐसा करते। भाई, कांग्रेस की सरकार और हमारी सरकार दोनों दिल्ली में रहा था, मगर हमने ऐसा किया ही नहीं था, तो ऐसा करने का सवाल ही पैदा नहीं हो रहा। बहुत अच्छे तरीके से चलता था, कोई झगड़ा नहीं था। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, मैं अंत में इतना ही कहना चाहता हूं, अभी भी समय है, वोटिंग बाकी है, यही समय है, सही समय है। विचार बदलिए, जनता देख रही है, जनता सब कुछ जानती है कि 9 बिलों में उपस्थित न रहने वाला समूचा विपक्ष आज गठबंधन बजाने के लिए अखाड़े में उतर गया। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, ये सदन के अंदर निहित स्वार्थ नीतिक उद्देश्यों के कारण ना भाषण देने चाहिए ना वोटिंग करनी चाहिए। सदन के अंदर वोटिंग 130 करोड़ की जनता के भले के लिए करनी चाहिए। मैं अंत में फिर से अपील करता हूं कि अभी भी जनता देख रही है, यही समय है मन बदलने का। एक बार मन बदल दीजिए तो शायद जनता यूपीए के पाप माफ भी कर दे। अध्यक्ष जी, सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
सर मैं स्पष्ट रूप से ये कहना चाहते हैं, शुरू में भी कहा था हम लोग कि ये अध्यादेश लाकर केंद्र ने संवैधानिक सिद्धांतों का उल्लंघन किया है और निर्वाचित सरकार के अधिकारों को हड़पने की कोशिश की है। ये संघवाद की बुनियादी सिद्धांतों को कमजोर करता है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट की संवैधानिक पीठ ने 11 मई को दिल्ली सरकार को जो अधिकार सौंपे थे, जिसके बाद केंद्र सरकार ने अध्यादेश लाकर कोर्ट का फैसला पलट दिया है। सर यही हमारा मोटा मोटी हमारा यही हमारा ये सरकार के खिलाफ
प्रश्न है कि
सर एक मिनट, नहीं सर नहीं हुआ, ये कब बोलने दीजिए सर।
आपने बोल तो लिया, क्या बोला था?
नहीं, ये तो रेस्पॉन्ड करने का अधिकार है सर, ये रेस्पॉन्ड करने का अधिकार है। सर एक मिनट, अमित शाह जी आप इतने सारे हमें भाषण सुनाया, ये लगा कि आप चुनावी मोड में आ गए। मुझे ऐसा उम्मीद थी कि कम से कम आज की तारीख में जब मणिपुर की बात आपने जिक्र किया तो कम से कम सुप्रीम कोर्ट मणिपुर की मुद्दे में क्या टिप्पणी की। सुप्रीम कोर्ट कहते हैं कि मणिपुर में सरकार नहीं है, पुलिस नहीं है, कोई शासन नहीं है।
विषय पर बात कीजिए
सर।
संकल्प के समय जब आपका भाषण दिया था, जब आपने बहुत सारी बात बिना विषय के बोली, मैंने कोई आपत्ति नहीं की थी। प्रश्न ये कि अधीर रंजन चौधरी द्वारा प्रस्तुत सामाजिक संकल्प को स्वीकृत किया गया है। जो सदस्य के पक्ष में हाँ गए, जो सदस्य विरोध में ना गए, मेरे विचार में निर्णय ना वालों के पक्ष में, ना वालों के पक्ष में सामाजिक संकल्प अस्वीकृत हुआ। प्रश्न है कि विधेयक पर विचार किया जाए। जो सदस्य इसके पक्ष में हाँ गए, जो सदस्य विरोध में ना गए, मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में, हाँ वालों के पक्ष में विधेयक पर विचार करने हेतु प्रस्ताव को स्वीकृत किया गया। अब सभा विधेयक पर खंडवार विचार करेगी। कुछ मान्य सदस्यों ने इस विधेयक पर अपने अपने संशोधन दिए, परंतु वे सभी इस समय सभा में उपस्थित नहीं है। अगर सभा की सहमति हो तो मैं सभी खंडों को सभा में निर्णय के रख लूं। प्रश्न है कि खंड 2 से 6 विधेयक का अंग बने। जो सदस्य इसके पक्ष में हाँ गए, जो सदस्य विरोध में ना गए, मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों पक्ष में, हाँ वालों के पक्ष में, आलो पक्षों खंड 2 से 6 विधेयक का अंग बने। प्रश्न है कि खंड 1 अधिनियम सूत्र विधेयक का पूरा नाम विधेयक का अंग बने। जो सदस्य के पक्ष में आ गए, जो सदस्य विरोध में ना गए, मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में, हाँ वालों के पक्ष में खंड 1 अधिनियम सूत्र विधेयक का पूरा नाम विधेयक का अंग बने। मंत्री जी अब प्रस्ताव करें कि विधेयक को पारित किया जाए।
महोदय, मैं प्रस्ताव करता हूं कि विधेयक को पारित किया जाए।
प्रश्न ये कि विधेयक को पारित किया जाए। जो सदस्य इसके पक्ष में हाँ गए, जो सदस्य विरोध में ना गए, मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में, हाँ वालों पक्ष में, प्रस्ताव स्वीकृत, विधेयक पारित हुआ। आप इनके सदस्य के संबंध में प्रस्ताव रख रहे थे ना?
ये जो आम आदमी पार्टी के श्री रिंकू थे, इन्होंने कागज फेंक के वेल में आके कागज फाड़ के फेंका है, आसन के सामने डाला है। सर, इनको सस्पेंड कर देना चाहिए।
आप प्रस्ताव करो ना।
प्रस्ताव करता हूँ, मैं प्रस्ताव करता हूं कि पूरा सत्र के लिए, रिमेनिंग पार्ट ऑफ द सेशन के लिए,
माननीय सदस्य सुशील कुमार रिंकू, जिसका व्यवहार माननीय नए चुने निर्वाचित सदस्य थे और मैंने प्रयास किया कि वह सदन की गरिमा को बनाए रखें। लेकिन उन्होंने सदन की गरिमा नहीं बना के रखी और उसकी मर्यादा को कम करने का प्रयास किया। मैं माननीय सदस्य का नेम करता हूं। माननीय संसदीय कार्य मंत्री जी।
सर, रूल 374 में मैं ये रेजोल्यूशन मूव करता हूं कि सुशील कुमार रिंकू जो दुर्व्यवहार किया है वेल में आके कागज फाड़ के फेंका है आसन के ऊपर उनको रिमेनिंग पार्ट ऑफ द सेशन के लिए विलंबित किया जाए।
प्रश्न है कि माननीय मंत्री द्वारा प्रस्तुत प्रस्ताव को स्वीकृत किया जाए। जो सदस्य इसके पक्ष में हाँ कहें, जो सदस्य इसके विरोध में ना कहें। मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में, हाँ वालों के पक्ष में प्रस्ताव स्वीकृत हुआ। श्री सुशील कुमार रिंकू माननीय सदस्य को सदन के इस सत्र तक लिए बचे सत्र के लिए निलंबित किया जाता है। सभा की कार्रवाई शुक्रवार दिनांक 4 अगस्त 2023 को प्राप्त 11 बजे तक के लिए स्थगित की जाती है।
जो बिल लेकर मैं सदन के सामने उपस्थित हुआ,
Good evening. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Toya Singh. This is a show where we try to look at the day's top stories through the lens of just the facts. Right now, we were bringing you visuals from inside the Lok Sabha as the Delhi Ordinance Bill was, as expected, passed. Now it's going to go on to the Rajya Sabha. We've brought you visuals from that. Now let's take you to our first story. We're shifting focus. We're taking a look at the big story today, a story that developed early in the morning today. The Gyanvapi case, as the Muslim body, the Anjuman Intizamiya Masjid Committee, today moved the Supreme Court against the Allahabad High Court order that allowed the ASI, that's the Archaeological Survey of India, to carry on with their survey on the historic Gyanvapi Mosque. Now, it was very much expected that the body would take this case to the highest court in the land. But tonight on the show, we're joined by voices from both sides as we look to understand what this next chapter means for the Gyanvapi case and why it could have national resonance. That's what we're taking a deeper look at tonight. But before we open that up, let's take a look at what the Allahabad High Court had to say today in its verdict. This is what the Chief Justice had to say. He said that the issue of a commission is permissible. We'll take a deeper dive into what each of this means in just a second. But he also said that the Varanasi court was justified in going ahead and ordering this ASI survey. Remember, the ASI survey is being done to understand the history of the mosque. Now, what the court has said is that a scientific survey is necessary in the interest of justice. They've also said that there is no substance in the submission of the other side, the Masjid Committee. We'll take a deeper dive into what they said. Now, the other thing that the court has said is that there is no substance that scientific investigation can't be ordered. Essentially, the scientific investigation will go on. The judge said that with the help of new technology, scientific investigations can be made into the history, what lay before, if anything did, before this structure existed. Now let's take a deeper dive into what the arguments of the Masjid Committee were in the Allahabad High Court. This is what the Allahabad High Court essentially said had no substance to, but let's take a deeper look at what the committee argued. They said, A, that any kind of excavation within the premises would destroy the structure as it stood today. That argument was rejected. Number 2, they said that the Wazu Khana, which the Hindu side is saying resembles a shivling, they said that will suffer damage if any kind of excavation effort takes place. They also said that the area around it is actually where the namaz is offered. Now, the court said that there was no water to that. We'll take you into why in just a second. But let's finish what the Masjid Committee had to say. Their counsel said that the Hindu side's claim that there is a temple underneath the current mosque is completely fictional. They also said that the petitioners did not have any proof of the claim that they were making about the history of the entire mosque and what existed before it. Now, are these questions that were raised by the Masjid Committee, these points that were raised by them, are they well-founded? Let's take a deeper look at what will be surveyed by the Archaeological Survey of India, the ASI. Number one, we know, this has been made clear, that no excavation is going to be taking place in the complex itself. Only mapping and measurement is going to be allowed. The ASI survey is to go nowhere close to the Wazukhana, which is the structure that we've talked about. Remember, that's the structure that the committee, the Masjid Committee says is nothing but a fountain. Now, what we know is that radio imagery is going to be used. We also know that there's going to be certain technology used that the ASI says, again, will not cause damage to the complex. They're saying that there's going to be ground penetrating radar that is used. And as you know, radar will not actually, according to the ASI, cause any disturbance to anything on the surface. Now, let's go very quickly to breaking news in this story. Then we'll go to our panelists. All right, this is an important development. We're learning that both sides, as we speak, it's a little past 7 p.m. right now on a Thursday evening, and both sides are still at the Supreme Court. Both of them are waiting outside the office of the registrar. This is for an urgent hearing. Remember, the Masjid Committee had said after the orders were passed today, they said they would go back to the Supreme Court and ask them to put a stop on the survey. My colleague, our legal correspondent Ananya Bhatnagar, to bring us more context. Ananya, both sides waiting at the registrar's office. Give our audience a little bit of context as to what this means, please.
Both the sides, whether we talk of Vishnu Shankar Jain, who's representing the Hindu petitioners, or Mr. Fuzail Ayubi and Mr. Nizam Pasha, along with the senior, their team is waiting outside the office of the Registrar Judicial Listing. Basically, he's the law officer responsible for listing of cases at the Supreme Court. We just saw a few minutes ago that they were also holding meetings with the Chief Justice of India. The Registrar Judicial had gone to the office of the Chief Justice of India, and a decision might come in with regards to urgent hearing being taking place on the Gyanvapi route. Today itself, we might see a late evening or late night hearing taking place. But all of that we'll have to wait and watch for. These are subject to the orders of the Chief Justice of India, Dr. Justice Dhananjay Yashwant Chandrachud. But what had happened, Toya, since the very beginning is that, what is very, very clear is that the Allahabad High Court had clearly given an order in the favor of the Muslim side, clearly, of the Hindu side, clearly allowing for a ASI survey to actually take place in this particular case. And it said that, the orders of the Varanasi district courts were just and proper, and the ASI survey without any damage to the structure can be carried out with the modern techniques that are available at this point of time. And that's the reason why, in fact, the High Court has very, very categorically said that the ASI survey can continue. It will begin at 7 a.m. tomorrow. And if at all the Muslim side does not succeed in, persuading the court today itself, then the survey might begin at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, though it can be stayed later, just like it happened the previous time. But something or the other would, the Muslim side is leaving no stone unturned to actually, check upon any kind of
Thank you for bringing us that context. That's our legal correspondent. He's been bringing us coverage on this story over the last few days. Let's take a quick look at the question we're looking at tonight on Plain Speak. The Gyanvapi survey. Who is shying away from the facts? We'll take a deeper look. We'll have both sides with us right now in just a few minutes. This is Plain Speak.
चीफ जस्टिस साहब ने ये कहा है कि एएसआई ने एफिडेविट फाइल किया है, उस एफिडेविट के कंप्लायंस में सर्वे किया जाए। साथ ही साथ उन्होंने कहा कि जब एएसआई ने एफिडेविट दिया है तो कोई मतलब नहीं है उसको डाउट करने का।
न्यायालय के आदेश का हृदय से स्वागत करता हूं और मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि एएसआई की सर्वे के माध्यम से सच्चाई बाहर आएगी।
Good evening. Let's take a deeper dive into today's topic. Let me introduce you to the panelists that we have with us on the show this evening. Sharad Trivedi, a spokesperson for the BJP in Uttar Pradesh, is with us. In a little while, we're going to have Vishnu Shankar Jain, the advocate for the Hindu side. He'll be joining us. Atikur Rahman, an Islamic scholar, is with us today to have a deeper conversation. So you joined us earlier when we talked about this topic too. We also have Tausif Ahmed Khan. He's a lawyer and a political analyst. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on the show. All right, I'm going to take a deeper dive into this entire discussion. I'm going to ask all of you. We're going to try not to talk over each other. I'll come to each of you. We'll allot our time exactly like that. But first, very quickly, let me go to Atikur Rahman. Ji, sir, I want to ask you, what was your reaction to everything that was said in court today by the Allahabad court?
Well, the wisdom of the court is undoubtedly in the favor of the people of India. I would say we cannot doubt over it. What is interesting in today's outcome is the court refusing the ASI to have any ground penetration. Any digging is not allowed. So this is the core issue which I was pinpointing from the beginning, that the moment you move into digging and ground penetration, a radar survey will be changing the character of the place, which will be violating the 1991 Places of Worship Act. So I think the Masjid committee also should look into it. Of course, they went into the Supreme Court. But this is a welcome step. That now I don't understand that if there is no ground penetration, if there is no digging, if there is no scientific this thing, then is the history not enough which tells us enormously about Aurangzeb's farmans that the part of the mandir was demolished to build the Gyanvapi Mosque. And historians have established this fact. The famous historian of ours, Irfan Habib Saab, and even the constitutionalist Faizan Mustafa Saab, both agree that there is no, amount of doubt which, is there for the historical evidence to prove that the place was usurped by Aurangzeb. Now, why are we wasting our resources, our time of the courts in this gimmickry and a charade played by the BJP, when a straight path towards the Gyanvapi is the repealing or amendment of the 1991 Places of Worship Act? That shows that the BJP wants to utilize this particular issue for their electioneering campaign and to consolidate the Hindutva element.
Okay. Sir, let me now go over to the BJP representative with us on the show, Mr. Trivedi. Mr. Trivedi, what Atikur Rahman said right now is a point that he's made before and a number of your opposition leaders have also made before. They've questioned the timing of this entire issue. So a few days ago, the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh also made a statement, and in his statement, it became very clear which side he was on. Sir, the opposition has said, why is the BJP politicizing this? Why is the Chief Minister talking about an issue that is sub judice? So, what's your response to just that question?
First of all, BJP is not a party to the dispute, and nobody who's part of BJP is a party to the dispute. It has nothing to do with the dispute at all. Okay. It was filed by 5 ladies who wanted to have a they were already worshipping there. They wanted permission to worship on a daily basis. Now they went to the court. The court decided it is between there are 2 parties. One Anjum Islamia Masjid group, and one is the Hindu group. They are fighting about it. And the dispute is in the court, and Honorable Yogi ji only said that this should be, because this is a disputed area. If you call it disputed area, then the problem occurs. If they acknowledge the actual ground situation there, the kind of symbols which are there, which are integral to Hinduism, like the boar, the Varaha avatar of, who's the 3rd avatar of Vishnu, has nothing to do with Islam. In fact, one of the most hated symbols of Islam. We have got a swastik there, we have got Om there, we have got Trishul there, we have got Shiv and Parvati statues there, which has nothing to do with Islam. So if he said that in case the offer comes from the Muslims, because this has been the case even before. the kind of atrocity committed by the
Mr. Trivedi, 1 second. Let's put out the statement that Yogi Adityanath said a few days ago, because the language of it is very clear. It's not in any way unbiased. His language is the Muslim side should admit their historic mistake. So that's a pretty pointed remark. It's very hard to look at that and wonder which side the Chief Minister is on.
We may not believe what the court is saying, we may not believe in what the Hindu side is saying, but at least the apostle of secularism, Aurangzeb himself has said it. He has said in Masir-e Alamgiri that all the temples and schools on the infidels should be destroyed and the religious practices should be crushed. And on the 2nd of September 1669, the matter was reported back to his court that the Farman...
Sorry, I'm unsure why why are you discussing what... Sir, I'm discussing the political leanings or the political comments of someone who's currently in office. Why are you bringing up Aurangzeb here, sir?
He did not say anything on the issue of which is sub judice. What he said that it could be an arbitration proceeding, it could be discussed, it could be sorted out of the court. There's no problem. We can comment or we can discuss. He's an ordinary citizen of the country. He can comment on the proceedings.
He's a fringe element, sir.
All right.
He's a fringe element of yours.
Okay, I'm going to have to ask Atikur Rahmanji, please wait for each of our panelists to finish speaking. I'm not going to allow talking over here. All right, Mr. Trivedi, just stay with us for a second. Let me now go over to both of the other panelists who are with us right now. I do believe that Sri Shankar Jain ji has joined us. He is an advocate for the Hindu side. The other panelist who we haven't gone to yet is Tausif Ahmed Khan, a lawyer and a political analyst. First, I just want to go over to understand the strategy to Sri Shankar Jain ji, who's with us right now. Sir, can you just walk us through what the plan is now for your side, for the people that you're representing? We know right now that the committee for the mosque is planning to go to the Supreme Court. We've already shared that news with the audiences. But what is the strategy of your team, sir?
The Intijamiya committee has filed, I'm telling you the latest thing. Intijamiya committee has filed SLP before the Supreme Court. Vishnu ji is also at the Supreme Court. After returning from Allahabad, he has attended and he is in the Supreme Court. Both parties, Hindu and Muslim, both parties are waiting as to whether Chief Justice is going to constitute any bench today or tomorrow.
Right.
After some time, you will come to know. But at present, the thing is that now everything has come in the Supreme Court. And if not today, then tomorrow certainly the petition will be heard. And we are ready for hearing. We have very strong case and everything depends on the fact as to whether the order passed by district judge is in consonance with law, which has been confirmed by the Honorable High Court. Now kindly consider, we have moved an application for SI survey. This survey for a limited purpose, kindly let me know the age of the artifacts. Kindly let me know as to what is lying beneath the main dome structure.
Okay.
What is in the western wall? There are number of Hindu god and goddesses engraved on the western wall. To find out what is their age, what is the age of the western wall and what is the age of plinth.
Okay.
It will show that previously it was a temple which was demolished, and after demolishing a Hindu temple, this construction has been raised.
Mr. Jain.
Now Atikur Rahman and several Muslims.
Mr. Jain, 1 second. One second. Let me just tell our audiences something, then I want to come back to you with a question. Let me just explain to our audiences. So the Places of Worship Act that we're talking about is an act that was formed in 1991.
I'm coming.
So 1 second, let me just explain to our audiences what it is, then I'll come to you with a counter question. So the Places of Worship Act decided the nature of a structure. Essentially, so 1 second, essentially what that act said is that at 1947, whatever religious denomination a structure belonged to, it would stay to that religious denomination. And what Atikur Rahman was saying right now was that according to that law, and if that law is indeed what the problem is, why doesn't the Hindu side first change that act and then go after each of these individual structures. Sir, I want to understand from you here, and that's the question I wanted to ask you now. What is your answer to that when the entire Masjid committee, for example, raises that question? That why don't you first go after the act, then go after individual structures? Yeah.
I am coming. Mr. Atikur Rahman and several other Muslims, they are raising only one plea. That our plea is barred by Place of Worship Act. Kindly hear the answer.
Yeah, of course.
They have raised this issue, so kindly consider here. They have raised this issue in the suit. They have raised this issue before the trial court. Trial court rejected that application and held the Place of Worship Act is not applicable and suit is maintainable. Against that order, they filed revision 101 of 2022 before the Honorable High Court. Honorable High Court, by judgment dated 31st May, has rejected their claim. The SLP has been filed against that order, which is also listed tomorrow at Silver 18 in court number 1. Now the question is, our plea is, kindly consider very politely, kindly consider. Our case is that puja worship of Hindu deities that were going on up to November 1993.
Right.
There's not a question of changing the nature. Not the question. Question is, if puja was being performed up to 1993, that is much after 15th August 1947, then certainly the religious character of the property of the building structure that has to be determined.
Okay, Mr. Jain, I'm so sorry to cut you off. Just stay with us. We are running out of time and I need to go to our fourth panelist. So I'm actually going to ask Tausif Ahmed Khan, who is a lawyer and a political analyst, to respond to what it is that Sir just said. Tausif, do you want to go ahead?
You see, if we are talking about the current proceedings regarding Gyanvapi case, it is not new. The dispute was before the court and the Supreme Court at that time, when the survey for the so-called Wazu Khana, the fountain and the Shivling dispute was there, then the Supreme Court had said that you cannot change the status quo. And in fact, the Supreme Court even said that you cannot obstruct the people from performing the wuzu and from performing the prayers at the mosque. Now the same thing, the same argument is taken by the Muslim side before the Allahabad High Court, that the Allahabad High Court, now that they have gone before the Supreme Court, the argument is that the Allahabad High Court is trying to enter into the masjid through illegitimate means by saying that we will do a survey without digging, without excavation, because it is obvious that what follows after this is the excavation. You see, there is a live example before us. Before Gyanvapi, the entire country has seen, the entire country was burning for the Babri Masjid issue. And what happened in Babri Masjid issue? The members of the board of the ASI who conducted the digging, there was no consensus among them. The two archaeologists, Supriya Verma and Jaya Menon, they published an entire article raising their objections. They had said that, you know, the ASI archaeologists proceeded with a preconceived idea in the mind, and that they have also claimed that underneath the Babri Masjid there was actually older mosque. So these are all matters of record.
Sir, I'm so sorry, we've actually run out of time now for this conversation.
We are going to the same.
I'd like to thank all of the panelists for joining us. We tried to bring you over there what it is that both sides have to say about the next few proceedings. This is a case that's going to have national resonance, especially before 2024's grand elections. It's time for a short break. Next, we're looking at a story that refuses to die down in Karnataka. Let's take a look. This is Plain Speak.
घोटाला की चलते घोटाला की विरोध करने के लिए आपको क्या ये बिल लाना जरूरी था? मैं ये सवाल पूछना चाहता है। दूसरी सवाल ये है कि देखिए ये अध्यादेश की घोषणा लोकतांत्रिक और न्यायिक विचार विमर्श का दरकिनार करने का एक स्पष्ट प्रयास है। क्योंकि मैं बता रहा हूं, क्योंकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट की 2023 संविधान पीठ के फैसले के महज 6 दिन बाद ही 17 मई 2023 की अध्यादेश को मंजूरी देने वाले कैबिनेट प्रस्ताव पारित किया गया था, जबकि अध्यादेश को 19 मई को ही कानूनी रूप दिया गया और उसी शाम जैसे ही सुप्रीम कोर्ट की छुट्टियां शुरू हुई, इस अध्यादेश को जनता के लिए लागू कर दिया गया। ये सही है, ये गलत? अब बताओ, इतना जल्दबाजी क्यों आपको लगे कि अध्यादेश के तहत ये बिल लाना जरूरी समझा है आपने? क्यों ये अध्यादेश लाने की क्या जरूरत थी? आप तो सीधा बिल ला सकते। ये जरूरी क्या थी? ये इमरजेंसी क्या थी? एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी सिचुएशन क्या थी उस समय? आपको सदन में ये बताना पड़ेगा। देखिए, 1991 में the parliament also passed the government of national capital territory of Delhi act to supplement the constitutional provision relating to the legislative assembly and the council of ministers. It conferred on the assembly the power to legislate on all matters in the state list as well as the concurrent list except land, police and public order. Further, in 2018, the Constitution bench of the Supreme Court has dealt with the issue of the powers of Delhi government. Supreme Court involves the interpretation of Article 239AA of the Constitution, which deals with the governance structure of the national capital. In the ruling, the Constitution bench held that although Delhi could not be accorded the status of a state, the concept of federalism would still apply to it. Yes, हमें चिंता जरूर करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि हिंदुस्तान में अगर संघीय ढांचा ना बचेगा तो हिंदुस्तान तबाह हो जाएगी। इस कगर में हिंदुस्तान ना जाए, इसलिए हमें चिंता करना जरूरी है। The 2018 ruling said that with the introduction of Article 239AA in the Constitution, Parliament envisaged a representative form of government for Delhi while seeking to provide a directly elected legislative assembly with legislative powers over matters within the state list and the concurrent list barring those exempted. कल हमारा सदन में जब परसों ये चर्चा होते समय हमें जब विरोध करना जरूरी महसूस किया, तो हमारे कोई नेता, ज्ञानी नेता यहाँ उठ के कह रहे थे कि हमारे एरुडाइट हम लोग नहीं है, ये कानून नहीं समझते। मानते हैं, उन जैसा फ्लैम्बोयेंट लीगल लुमिनरी मैं कम से कम नहीं हूँ, ये बिल्कुल मानता। लेकिन एक बात जरूर कहना चाहते हैं कि ये जो आपकी तरफ से जो बयान दिया गया था वो भी हमारे पास है। वो ये था कि ये आपने माना कि verdict itself had noted that since there is no central legislation governing the services and the decision making process in Delhi, the power would lie with the elected government. ये आपका तर्क है। आपका दूसरी तर्क ये है, the center has removed the basis and reason on which the judgment was given. The Supreme Court decision on the interpretation of Article 239AA, entry 41 in the absence of any specific parliamentary legislation dealing with the subject of services seemed to be an acknowledgement of the Supreme Court as the superior authority of Parliament to make laws for national capital. ये आपका तर्क यही है। तो इसके साथ मैं ये कहना चाहते हैं, बिल्कुल आपका तर्क सही है, लेकिन ये भी सही है कि review petition filed by the center in the Supreme Court claimed that Delhi is not a full-fledged state, but only a union territory which is an extension of the union. आपको सुविधा ये मैं बता रहा हूँ। The parliament is Delhi's true legislation. ये भी अपने कहते, true legislation. ये भी अपने कहते। The center has argued, however, the May 11 judgment addresses the contention by acknowledging that though Delhi is not a full entrusted with the power to legislate upon the subject in the state list and concurrent list. आपके यहाँ बहुत बड़े बड़े वकील बैठे हुए हैं, हमारा रविशंकर प्रसाद जी वो भी है, आप खुद आप देख लीजिए। द यूनानिमस जजमेंट, मैं एक बड़े मेन स्ट्रीम पेपर से मैं ये उद्धृत करते हैं। द यूनानिमस जजमेंट हेल्ड दैट दो दिल्ली इज नॉट ए स्टेट under the first schedule to the constitution,
It is conferred with power to legislate upon subject to give effect to the aspiration of the people of NCTD. It has a democratically elected government which is accountable to the people of the NCTD. Under the constitutional scheme envisaged in Article 239AA Clause 3, NCTD was given legislative power which, though limited in many aspects, is similar to states. In the sense, with the addition of Article 239AA, the Constitution created an asymmetric federal model with the Union of India at the center and the NCTD at the regional level. ये यूनियन टेरिटरी बने 1956 में. देखिए, मेरा सिर्फ यही कहना है कि आप जो भी कहे, शंका हमारे इसलिए है
Welcome back. You're watching Plain Speak. For our next story, we're looking at a controversy that refuses to die down in Karnataka. 3 months ago, as you know, the Congress stole from the BJP the state of Karnataka, the only bastion the BJP had in the south. Now, they did it on the back of 5 poll promises. Promises that the BJP from day one has called freebies, accusing the Congress government of doling out what they call welfare at the expense of the state's future. Now, a day after a biting rebuttal from the state's Chief Minister Siddaramaiah on the continued controversy, today the Prime Minister and the Chief Minister actually met. We're going to take a deeper look at A, that meeting, and B, this larger conversation of what the BJP calls freebie politics. And this question the BJP keeps saying, is it leaving the citizens wanting? We want to take a deeper look at this. We have guests with us to take a deeper dive on this show. We have Mohan Vishwas. He's a spokesperson of the Karnataka BJP. We have Aishwarya Mahadev. She's a spokesperson of the Congress. B.S. Arun, a senior journalist, and Professor Chandan Gowda, a professor from ISEC. I'd like to ask all our panelists, we have a positive time, so I'm going to come over to each of you with one question. I'm going to ask each of you not to talk over each other. Professor Chandan Gowda, we had you on this exact topic 2 days ago when we first discussed this. And I'm actually going to open with a question similar to the one we asked you a little earlier. So we asked you to provide us an economic analysis of the main counterpoint that's come into this about 52,000 crores that will be required to fulfill those 5 promises. The BJP has said this is not an amount that is good for the Karnataka economy, that you're hurting other needs. So as someone with economic insight of how the Karnataka economy is performing, whether or not they can afford this, can you shed some light, sir?
The amount you mentioned is about 16% of the overall budget. So it's not eating into the budget of the other departments that much. And it's well within the fiscal responsibility, criteria that they've mentioned. It exceeds it by a little bit, but still manageable because the tax revenues keep going up every year. That said, I would also like to compare other big, infrastructure commitments of the state. The metro gets 30,000, an equivalent figure almost. Bangalore gets 45,000 in all. So I wouldn't be excessively focused on just this and not look at the other components. And in a broad spirit of welcoming welfareist policies, I think it's a good start. And there are teething problems, as we can see in the first 2 months, but I expect them to get sorted out as we go on. But broadly speaking, a social security welfare net is something that we desperately need. And we need a fine way of thinking about it in terms of our resources, etc. It's a start. And I think we should give them a little more time to prove themselves and the effectivity of the programs.
Okay, all right. Mr. Gowda, if I can ask you to stay, let's go over now to the other guests that we have with us right now. I want to go over to the BJP to get their response to that. Mohan Vishwas, a spokesperson from the Karnataka BJP, is with us. Mr. Vishwas, I just want to ask you, as the professor has made clear, the statement that keeps getting made that they don't have the money in the state of Karnataka, that isn't entirely correct. And Mr. Vishwas, what I want to come back and ask you also is that the BJP, when it comes to this entire concept that you call the freebie politics, the BJP isn't entirely innocent. In Madhya Pradesh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan has done exactly that. Under the guise of freebies, he too has introduced that a certain amount will go to women across the state of Madhya Pradesh. The Chief Minister Siddaramaiah in Karnataka has himself questioned the Prime Minister and said, don't various schemes of the Prime Minister's also look like freebies in some ways? So, Mr. Vishwa, what does the BJP have to say to that?
See, first of all, good evening. Thank you for having me in the show. See, what I want to make here is, there is a difference between social welfare scheme and freebies. You just quoted a scheme of Shivraj Singh Chauhan ji in the state of Madhya Pradesh, which got introduced way back in February 2023, okay? Whereas election is happening in December. So that was a scheme which got announced. Later on, the Congress copied the scheme over here in the state of Karnataka, and they said. So what I want to make over here is, see, there is a difference between social welfare and freebies. Here in the state of Karnataka, Congress announced this scheme only for the sake of winning election, not for the sake of uplifting the poor. That is hurting.
Sir,
so that
that's
is
what I'm trying to understand. How can
so
you...
if you look at
one
the
second,
kind
sir,
of...
I do want to come in with a
finish.
counterpoint.
Let me finish.
No,
Let
sir, I
me
do
finish,
want to
please.
ask you here. I'm not entirely
No, let me
understanding.
finish,
Your
please.
point is that it's okay that Madhya Pradesh did this because it's 6 months before the elections. But, sir, that's close enough, isn't it?
No, what I am telling is Congress did only for the sake of winning elections. And now they are, that hurting the Karnataka economy. Let me tell you, there was a letter written by an SP of Yadgiri district yesterday to the police officer stating that there is no money from the government to pay the salaries. And also there is no money to pay the salary of KSRTC employees. And there is no money to pay the salary of Northeastern Karnataka state employees. And also 18 MLAs signed a letter and sent to Mr. Siddaramaiah stating that they are not getting a proper money for their respective constituencies for the purpose of development. And this is happening even after increasing additional duty in the budget on liquor, even after increasing the valuation of property in the budget, even after increasing the royalty on stone crushers, even after increasing the rate of milk in the state of Karnataka. So even after increasing all these things, if they are unable to make the payments, means what's happening in the state?
But sir, one second, I must ask you, we did speak to an economic specialist who said, look, when you take a look at the overall situation, checks and balances, everything's in place, nothing to worry about. To that, what do you have to say? All right.
So you're asking me?
Yes, sir. But actually, I'll move on to the other people we have with us on the panel. I'll come back to you. Aishwarya Mahadev, she's a spokesperson of the Congress. Ma'am, thank you for joining us here today. I do want to ask you one question, ma'am. And this was actually a question that was raised by the BJP too right now. We did see how a few weeks ago, actually, just a few days in fact, DK Shiv Kumar, the Congress leader, did have to end up making a statement to the press about MLAs who'd sent this letter. Now, he rubbished the letter, but he did say that, look, right now money has been diverted to these promises. We can't give money to the MLAs. So I just want to ask you there, how should our audiences interpret that? In some way, was there a lack of management there that you do have MLAs coming out with a letter? These kind of controversies are embarrassing for a party that's just come into power.
Good evening, Toya. I think first two other responses. It almost seems like if something is promised by the BJP, it is for social welfare, while it is done by the Congress, it is obviously Revdi or a freebie. And I think that distinction is ridiculous, whether it was offered 6 months ago or a year ago. If they in principle believe that 2,000 or 3,000 rupees Shivraj Chauhan is giving them in Madhya Pradesh is social welfare, in principle, the same thing is happening with Gruha Lakshmi here first. Second thing is, the problem with the BJP is this. They, in what they did not do in their 5 years and did not fulfill any of their promises because their manifesto is 98% completely unfulfilled. But they have these unnatural expectations to expect the Congress to make sure everything is 100% functional from day one. We are trying our best because we inherited the losses of the BJP, the regime of corruption of the BJP that we have to fix. And what Mr. DK Shivkumar said, and I will concede, If a government has teething issues within the first 2 months where we're trying to accommodate budgeting for the fact that Bommai's last budget and the current budget have a mass difference in planned and unplanned expenditure and where we're going to get the money from, it is a tiny period of time where this inconvenience is going to happen. All the MLAs who, whether they wrote the letter or not, have been reassured that they are constitutionally anyway guaranteed their MLA funds, MLADS anyway comes to them, and we will ensure that the 20,000 crores odd of tenders which are being re-examined will be released soon enough so infrastructure development can also take place. And as Professor also rightly pointed out, this 50,000 crores of social welfare, especially in a time of price rise, inflation and unemployment, is necessary for people in my state. And in a budget size of 3.27 lakhs, I think it is something, it can be accommodated. And let's be honest, the BJP, I don't know why the BJP wants us to be like their leaders, where I would promise 15 lakhs and nothing happens, 1.5 times MSP, nothing happens. And that is the reality for them. We are working, we have delivered what we promised, and they have a problem with that as well.
Ashwarya, we do have a paucity of time, so let me just quickly ask you, then I want to go over to our fourth panelist. So then when you had the MLAs come out and voice this, was that a mismanagement, miscommunication? Were they not entirely conveyed to that, look, we're going to have to come back to you in some time? Was there a miscommunication there?
No, Toya, for the fact that we have 135 MLAs and a historic mandate, there was also a certain amount of communication that should have occurred, which may not have happened, which is why immediately, the minute the MLA started voicing, because we're not like Yatnal to go on there and tell me 2,500 crores is the price for a chief minister and actually have Murgesh Nirani's event stoned. But my MLAs waited and had a CLP meeting, and there's been a higher level meeting to ensure that there's better coordination. And I can assure you, and I will come back on your show to assure you as well, that my government is fully functional, and the BJP is just going to try to nitpick and find some issues to still stay relevant in my state.
Ashwarya, thank you. Let's go over to BS Arun, who's with us also. Sir, thank you for waiting. I want to ask you this, sir. I'm going to ask you for your overview. Tell us, sir, how do you see these developments? The fact that the Prime Minister is really choosing to lead the charge with this point, that there is freebie politics taking place in Karnataka and that the Karnataka government isn't equipped to deliver on its 5 promises. Why are they staying stuck, the BJP? Why are they staying stuck on this issue when there could be 10 other issues that they could be focusing on? Why are they leading with this charge, sir? Why do you see that?
Maybe it's a high time that the BJP stops saying this because of the sort of a mismatch in the programs that their own governments have announced and the criticism that they make against the Congress governments. Let me point out there are 3 these welfare measures in the Madhya Pradesh government. One is this for women, the other is for the religious tours, and the third one is for farmers once in 2 years. So when this is the case, I don't know how morally they can oppose the welfare measures of the Congress government. Even BJP government of Gujarat before the elections had announced a couple of such programs. And how can that be different when it comes to the Congress government? It's freebies. I can't understand this basic factor.
But Mr. Arun, can I just understand from you, because you are a senior journalist, I'm also asking you for your perspective here strategically. Why do you think the BJP is then continuing to choose this to be the pillar on which they attack the Congress on?
I think the Prime Minister needs to be possibly made aware that such programs are there in other states ruled by the BJP also. Maybe he is not aware. Maybe the more and more the Congress says about this, like Siddaramaiah said today about Karnataka unit of the BJP in their manifesto promising these 3 cylinders for 3 festivals like Ugadi and Ganesh Chaturthi and Deepavali. So 3 free cylinders, are they not the freebies? If 5 guarantees are the freebies, are the 3 cylinders not freebies? Are these religious tours not the freebies? I mean, if these questions are asked to the BJP people, perhaps they will say, yes, they are. I think the people at the higher echelons of the BJP must be made aware of this. I think then only they will
Unfortunately, sir, we won't actually be able to go to the BJP and get this response, even though they are with us on the show. We've run out of time. I'd like to thank all my panelists for joining us this evening. Thank you for coming. This is Plain Speak. We've taken a deep dive into a second topic. Thank you for staying with us over this last 1 hour. This is Plain Speak on CNN News 18.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and somehow it is, call it a quirk of fate, destiny, or somewhere intended that every 4 or 5 months, or at least once in 6 months, I have the opportunity to sit in front of the Honorable LG of Jammu and Kashmir, Manoj Sinha ji, and he very kindly gives us the time. And this time when we are speaking with him, it is on the cusp of a landmark occasion. 4 years of the abrogation of Article 370. मनोज सिन्हा जी नमस्ते।
नमस्ते।
जय हिंद। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, आपका समय आपने दिया। 4 साल गुजर गए, आपको लगा कि 4 साल गुजर गए, या आप जब व्हेन यू लुक बैक, पहला मैं वहीं से शुरू करता हूँ।
नहीं, मुझे 7 अगस्त को 3 साल
हो जाएंगे जी।
और जिस ऐतिहासिक घड़ी की बात कर रहे हैं वो 4 साल पूरे हो जाएंगे। 3 साल गुजर गया, मैं भी इसे देख रहा हूं, लेकिन कैसे गुजरा इसका मूल्यांकन मुझे लगता है जम्मू कश्मीर के लोग बेहतर ढंग से करेंगे। मैं पलट के देखता हूं तो मुझे 2-3 बातें दिखाई पड़ती हैं, उसको मैं जरूर जिक्र करूंगा। उसका एक तो ये जो स्ट्रीट वायलेंस था वो समाप्त हो गया
जी।
बड़ी उपलब्धि में मानता हूं इसे। आम आदमी अपनी मर्जी से जी सकता है। लंबे समय बाद जम्मू कश्मीर के लोग ऐसा महसूस कर रहे हैं, अधिसंख्य लोग
जी।
बंद काल जो कुछ टेररिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन या पाकिस्तान या कुछ इनके चट्टे बट्टे 150 दिन 200 दिन बंद के हुआ करते थे, वो समाप्त हो गया। अब स्कूल हो, कॉलेज हो, यूनिवर्सिटी हो, ट्रेड हो, बिजनेस हो, ये सब चल रहा है। और मुझे लगता है कि सूर्यास्त हो उसके पहले ही घर चला जाए। अब आइसक्रीम खाते हुए बच्चे पोलो व्यू मार्केट